So this year we were down at Door Shack this winter, just an awesome smallmouth fishery, a place that has bigger smallmouth probably than anywhere in the country. A chance to catch an 8-pound smallmouth is very real there. And as we saw, Daniel, the camera guy, caught an 8-2 giant smallmouth. Some of the baits that really excel down there that we caught fish on that week, I'm gonna run through here with the equipment that we used. And hopefully if you get a chance to get there, you can use some of the same stuff. One thing that was really good that caught the big fish is a razor shad by Z-Man. So this was designed as a chatterbait trailer, but is obviously a bait fish imitation. Using Lowrance active target was a really productive bait. The bait I like or the head I like rather, for any of that open water style fishing, whether you call it hover strolling, mid strolling, you can argue about that all day, but is the Dirty Jigs guppy head. So this is a 3/0 version. They come in a 1 and 3/0 version. This here we were using with that razor shad, and when it got tougher, we'd use a 3.5-inch version of the jerk shad, a scented jerk shad in 3.5, and would use the 1/0 hook. Again, that's just an awesome head, really, for fishing that open water stuff. It's great for a swim bait too, but we've seen the advancements of forward-facing sonar and me using active target by Lowrance all the time. This is a style of fishing we're doing a lot more these days, and these straight tail baits are really good for that. And the beauty of this head, it's a weight forward design with a 90-degree line tie, so it's going to keep your bait really level coming through the water. Creates a very natural presentation. So that jig head, very crucial for what you saw a lot of fish we caught on down there. The setup we were using for that are a Phoenix MBX spinning rods. This is a 7/6 medium. We also use a 7-foot medium. Just good all-around spinning rods. The 7/6 is kind of nice because I can cast further. With that active target, I can see fish at 120 feet. In that 7/6 rod, I can really get my bait out there to them. Really important. The rod's going to load and be able to cast a long ways with it. So I really prefer the 7/6. Some people feel more comfortable with the 7-foot, but the medium action in that Phoenix MBX is really a great setup. 10-pound Seagar Smackdown braid and 10-pound Tatsu leader, or 8-pound Tatsu leader, I'm sorry, is what we use most of the time. We did use 6 when it got slick and sunny some, but used 8 more than not. It just, some we're not worried about breaking them off, and we're still getting a lot of bites on it. 2500 size reel, pretty simple setup for that razor shad and the scented jerk shad. We're throwing at a lot of dots out there on the active target and catching a lot of those fish that are suspended. We're even coming up off the bottom. We're seeing just kind of moping along the bottom on these flat points and stuff, and you'd swim that over their head. The guppy hook, really amazing. I don't think we lost a fish all week, and I don't know how many we caught. It was a tremendous amount of fish. I don't recall losing a single fish the whole week. A couple other things. When it was windier in the mornings, we caught them on the Tactical Bass and Underspin by Dirty Jigs. That there is an underspin. We're using the 3.5-inch scented jerk shad on there, but it's an underspin with a smaller hook in it. So we're seeing it's a very finesse underspin. Really good clear water underspin, nice blade, ball bearing swivel. It's going to spin really freely. It spins at about any speed. Really, when the conditions got to be, we wanted a little bit more flash, a little more excitement there. That underspin got some bites when other things weren't. So definitely a cool bait for clear water. Fish are on small bait. It's going to be good anywhere in the country when they're feeding on those small little minnows, little bitty shad. You know, I'm going to use it a lot for largemouth down south, just because it is a compact bait that's going to be good in cold water situations too. But really cool little underspin. Caught a bunch of fish on that. And the last couple things we caught some fish on. One that are, I guess both of them are kind of near and dear to my heart. I have a lot of confidence in, but probably the one that I'm really excited about, the finesse jig by Dirty Jigs finesse jig. You know, that's just a bait that I throw a lot. I get a lot of bites on it. It catches smallmouth. You know, we are either using a TRD for a trailer or the baby goats, a little twin tail on there. Those smallmouth like that little twin tail kicking sometimes, but it starts to fade in the winter when the water gets really cold. But that's a good smallmouth spotted bass jig, but also catches a lot of largemouth. Throwing a lot of clear water situations or when the water's cold, and caught a bunch of fish on that too. And on the jig, we were throwing 12-pound Seagar Tatsu, Ultra MBX 7-foot heavy rod, 7/4 to 1 reel on it just to pick up some line. You get quite a bit of stretch fishing out there. And 20 to 30 feet of water, so you're going to want to use a faster reel to get some of that stretch out of your line and be able to load up on those fish. On that same rod and reel though, the other thing we used was a finesse football jig. I cut it down a long ways. I'll cut the skirt to the back of the hook even when I'm fishing smallmouth or spotted bass. They like a really small jig like that. Both species are really fond of it. I've caught a lot of largemouth on it too, but they like that little buggy jig. I was using a Z-Man baby goats on it, really just dragging it over these isolated little patches of rock out on these points. And you can see it doesn't have a giant hook in it. It's got a very moderately sized hook that I can throw it on 12-pound line. I'm not going to bend it out even throwing it on 15-pound line on a 7-foot heavy, but yeah, you can throw it on 12-pound line or even on heavier line. When you're casting out there, you get so much line stretch. When you're again 20 or 30 feet deep, that lighter wire hook allows you to hook a lot of those fish and you're not going to bend it out. You know, honestly, that's about the only football head I use anymore. I used to use a lot bigger hook, and there was always times that I'm on a long cast, I'm way out there and can just never catch up to them, even when you're largemouth fishing on the Tennessee River. But a really good smallmouth bait to catch a big smallmouth. A jig is a bait that just doesn't get as many bites as we're going to get with the 3.5-inch jerk shad or some of this other stuff, but it's a bait that gets big bites a lot of times, and it's a bait I really like in the winter for smallmouth. Your odds of catching a 7 or 8 pounder I think is really high. Throwing a jig around at Door Shack like you saw us catch some fish down there on. So that was pretty much our setup at Door Shack. Try these baits if you make it down there anywhere you're fishing in the winter. All these are good wintertime baits that they get bit in the winter. I mean, it's all stuff that's cold water baits. It happens to be cold water baits also work well for smallmouth, and the combination of the two works well at Door Shack, but they work all over the country. And yeah, give those a try this winter. I think you'll catch more fish.